Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us for our first community chat of 2022. I'm Becks Heyhoe, the Executive Director of United to End Homelessness, which is an initiative of Orange County United Way. Today, for our first chat of the year, we are doing things a little bit differently. So I ask you to bear with us as we try out a new format, but the goal is to be able to have the people that are attending these events be able to help shape the conversation that we have even more. So a huge thank you to anybody who submitted a question to us, either when you signed up on Eventbrite or on the various social media posts. Your questions are going to pop up shortly in a poll, and then all the attendees are going to get to vote on which questions you would like me to put to our experts. So really excited to try something new, try something different. At the end, we'll get your feedback on if you liked this format. But for now, you'll see the poll should have popped up. And we would love for you to go through. There's 3 places, and you get to pick which are your top 2 questions that you want us to talk to in each of those 3 places. So you'll get a total of 6 questions that you would like us to respond to today. So in section 1, you can choose up to 2 questions that you want to put to the experts. Section 2, again, you get to pick 2 questions that you want us to put to the experts. And section 3, again, you get to pick 2 questions that you want us to put to the experts. So while you're busy polling and responding over there, I am going to keep talking as your background music. And then I'm also going to introduce our guest speakers today. I am really excited to be joined by 2 local experts who are going to help respond to these questions that you guys have submitted to us about homelessness in Orange County. So thrilled to be joined by Elizabeth Andrade, the Chief Executive Officer of Family Assistance Ministries, and also the co-chair of the United to End Homelessness Service Provider Partner Network. Also really excited to have Carrie Buck joining us, the Executive Director of Homeless Intervention Services of Orange County. Thank you so much for joining us today for our experimental Zoom poll. And so we are thrilled. I would love to just hear from you guys a brief kind of bit who you are, and are you excited for our random, exciting community chat today? Elizabeth, I'll come to you first.
Thanks, Becks, and thank you for this invitation to participate today. There's nothing like being invited to the first of anything. So I am extremely excited to be a part of the conversation today, mostly because we get to hear the questions that our community has, and that's valuable. That's really important. My name is Elizabeth Andrade. As you all have already heard, I am the CEO for Family Assistance Ministries, and we exist to prevent and end hunger and homelessness in South Orange County. My lens today is that to be as transparent and honest in responding to the questions as possible, as well as acknowledging that when we refer to clients, we are referring to people who are living currently in a place of being unhoused. So always drawing that acknowledgement back to the information we're providing to actual people, human beings. So thank you, Becks.
Thank you so much. Carrie.
Well said, Elizabeth. Elizabeth and I have been working together for a number of years, and think in the same way about our friends that are experiencing homelessness. My name is Carrie Buck. I'm the Executive Director of his OC, as Becks mentioned, and I've been working in the homeless field for the last 8 years, kind of by chance, and ended up loving working and doing what I do to make give people the opportunity to make a difference in their lives. And so I'm really thrilled today to be here and appreciate the questions. And I'm looking forward to finding out what people want to know. So thanks.
Perfect. Thank you so much for those introductions. And I have got the results are trickling in. So our number 1 voted for question, where we're going to begin with, is what is being done locally to provide resources to people who might have a different need structure, for example, families. And I don't know who wants to tackle this one first. Jump in.
Okay, I'll jump in. So for families, Elizabeth and I have both been involved in an organization called the Family Solutions Collaborative, and Elizabeth was actually instrumental in helping us launch that. But we work together as shelter providers that work with families and coordinate it on a regular basis. Our case managers meet weekly. We as CEOs and executive directors meet on a monthly basis so that we're addressing the needs that families have immediately, and we're coordinating together so that we all know who is experiencing homelessness. We provide our housing opportunities, whether that's a shelter or a voucher or rapid rehousing or rental assistance, and we're addressing the needs of families immediately and with the most appropriate housing situation that we can. Elizabeth, I'll turn it over to you if you have anything to add.
Yeah, I think that acknowledging the uniqueness of the subpopulations who experience homelessness, such as families, individuals, veterans, and the response mechanisms that exist within the provider network, we do acknowledge that every household, regardless of if it's a family household or individual, that their needs will need to be tailored and the response will need to be tailored to what their experience is. So please know that there is specific efforts being done around those four categories. We need to also include transitional age youth, 18 to 24 in that mix as well, that the system to address the needs of somebody experiencing homelessness is categorized in that way. And then the resources allocated to those are also being delineated in those measures as well. So that's similar to what Carrie outlined for the family system, which has been in existence as a system a bit longer, can also be learned from and replicated and applied to the other subpopulations that exist within our homeless, of those experiencing homelessness.
If I could add just one more note, our domestic violence, we also use that as we move those into kind of a subpopulation and take care of those unique needs individually.
So thank you for that. This is kind of the rapid fire community chat. We're going to be jumping all over the place. So our second highest voted for question was, what Orange County city has solved homelessness and what are they doing right?
There are a variety of efforts that are being embarked on by cities as they look at homelessness for their specific stakeholders and those experiencing homelessness. There's a listing that I can provide you of just really impressive measures. The way that we account for resolving homelessness is a regional approach. So for us, it would be Orange County. As a county, we would need to gain the acknowledgement of functional zero, which means that there are more resources coming into the system than there are people who are becoming homelessness. So less people in than people out will give us a functional zero. Also knowing that the people who are becoming homeless are homeless less than 30 days. So that's how we measure success. That's how other communities have gotten to a functional zero. So we can't measure it necessarily by city. We must stay true and acknowledge it as a county-wide effort, knowing that people travel from city to city pretty easily, and acknowledging the work that's being done at a city-specific level. And that includes resources under the purview of homeless outreach and engagement, building permanent supportive housing, bringing up emergency shelter for those that are experiencing homelessness in their cities. So there's a variety of responses that cities are embarking in and taking ownership of and providing to their stakeholders. But that was just the only acknowledgement that I would say is that we need to make sure that we are responding as a county so that we may reach that functional zero together.
That's great. Okay, thank you, Elizabeth. Our third question that came in then is around emergency shelters. And so specifically asking about the exit rates for people leaving emergency shelters into permanent housing. Do we know what those exit rates are and how is that monitored?
All right, I'll dive in to this one. So important to note that emergency shelters are meant to be short-term stays. The goal of an emergency shelter is to keep people safe and to transition them into permanent housing. It's not a prerequisite to permanent housing, but it does help people stay safe out of the elements and bridge them to a permanent housing solution for them. The performance rates of emergency shelter or navigation centers, however they're titled and defined, may vary depending on the subpopulation rate or any specific type of subpopulation that they are looking to serve. So for example, although those are the two main goals, keeping people short-term stays, I will say three, keeping people safe, short-term stays, and bridge to permanent housing, the outcome measures are varied. We have a specific aspect of our homeless management information system, HMIS, that works to provide us with performance outcomes. So we are able to gain the data on those who are currently in shelter, where they are in shelter, how long they've been in shelter, and then ultimately their exit. Is it a successful exit or an unsuccessful exit based on whether they move into permanent housing? So I can't give you that outcome, but know that it exists and that it varies depending on the type of shelter that is being measured. The one driving force that will impact the success of an emergency shelter and the exits to permanent housing is having that permanent housing available. So we can only bridge people to permanent housing if the permanent housing exists. And so just noting that the more we infuse into development of permanent housing, the better those outcome measurements for emergency shelter will be.
Thanks so much, Elizabeth. And the reports that Elizabeth was referring to are the HUD system performance reports that continuums of care across the country are required to submit to HUD every year. And so the link has just popped into the chat box for where you can find those reports for our continuum of care. So that's where you can find all of the data to dig in. And there's a lot of historical data for those performance reports from across the years. Okay, we're going to move on to question number 4. What is the biggest challenge that executive directors are facing right now in keeping staff in these challenging times? And Carrie, I'll come to you first with this one.
Great, thanks. I don't have an emergency shelter, so that was good for Elizabeth to answer that piece. For staffing for us, really, there's a lot of competition out there for staff, and we need to make sure that we are addressing the needs of our staff in many ways. One, we have to offer a competitive salary and benefits, and knowing that the work that we do is incredibly challenging, it's difficult, it's very stressful. For us at His OC, we really make sure that we have that work-life balance and that we're supporting each other as part of our team. It really can be difficult to work with people that are in crisis, and you can take that on yourself. So self-care is incredibly important. So we emphasize that. Over the last couple of years, COVID has taught us that working remotely is possible in many ways. So we've become very flexible and able to work at home and work remotely as much as we can, but also meet the needs of our clients. And our clients are doing the same. If we have clients that are job searching at the time, we meet them during the day. If they're working during the day, we meet them in the evening. So we really have to be very flexible. And that's something that is very attractive to some of our staff, that flexibility, because you can build your schedule around your clients, but that also can benefit you at the same time. Thanks for that question.
Thank you. And then I know another kind of, just to jump in on this one, another big discussion that's been happening kind of in the service provision realm is around how programs are funded and how contracts are written when it comes to salary and pay for the people that are actually like running the program. And so that is a whole other kind of topic of discussion. We could probably do a separate community chat on how that works. But Elizabeth, I wanted to see if you wanted to add anything around that aspect of it as well.
Yeah, thanks, Becks, for bringing that into the fold. It does. So as we compete for contracts, and it is a healthy competition process usually for contracts for emergency shelter or for housing programs, there is a budget that's submitted. In that budget, you put forth what your salary cost and allocation will be. And then you stay true to that through the duration of the contract. So if there are, you must factor in for minimum wage increases and how that impacts both entry-level positions as well as salary positions. And so if there is a gap that exists between your contract and your desired rate of pay for your staff, the agency is responsible for covering that cost. And so that's when oftentimes we look to the community to come in and support, whether it's a gala or a golf event or a general ask. That's usually for agencies the largest line item on our budgets. And it's also, we need our people to be in this field engaged with us at a comparable pay in order for them to live within Orange County as well. We are not immune to the high cost of living in Orange County, and our staff isn't either. So thank you, Becks, for that question.
Yeah, thanks for adding some more color to my attempt to bring that into the discussion. So the next question is, what can ordinary citizens do to help end homelessness? Carrie.
Thank you. What can ordinary citizens do? They can get involved, and they can talk to their service providers in their area, whether it's making donations of items that might be helpful to a shelter or actual monetary donations, but going in and providing some expertise, volunteering, talking to your city council about things that you need in your city that we need for additional housing. All of those things. It just takes a little amount of time, talent, or treasure to make an impact. And we all work together in Orange County to end homelessness. So it doesn't matter who you volunteer with or where you volunteer, just that you volunteer.
Perfect. And we actually have a spot on the United to End Homelessness website with a map, and it shows where all of our service provider partners are, including both of your agencies, and how to get in contact with you guys for volunteer needs. So that link is going to pop in the chat box shortly. And I will move us on to our next question. Sorry, Elizabeth, unless you had anything else to add there.
I would just say that folks who are tuning in today, you're engaged, you're curious, you want to learn more. I would encourage, if you have opposing views on the subject, even more of a reason to get involved. We need to hear those opposing views. We believe that housing ends homelessness. It's not housing only, it's housing and adequate support services through the duration that someone may need them. But we really are curious as service providers. We don't know what we don't know. We function from a place of community support and trust, and we want to retain that community support and trust. So I would say the United to End Homelessness has done a fantastic job at putting together a segue into community member into more of a knowledge base and advocate. And so plug into Homelessness 101, plug into the Housing Champions work, especially if there's a point of view that doesn't agree with the information being provided. We want to hear from you.
Thank you. Okay, next question. Does our county have a comprehensive database that is widely used so our system can keep track of people who are accessing services?
Yes, so I referenced it earlier. We are in compliance with the national database on tracking people who are experiencing homelessness, as well as the services that are being offered and provided and people are engaged in. It is the Homeless Management Information System, or HMIS. And how we use this is important. As a service provider, we use it when somebody comes to us to identify whether they've accessed services in the past or to try to identify their duration of homelessness. And what is key about it is that different providers can input their different services. So if somebody's experiencing homelessness, they may have been engaged with an outreach worker, and that outreach worker is involved with and inputting into HMIS, so we can see how long they've been engaged. Maybe that person went into an emergency shelter, and so that information would be on there. And we use it as a tool to help create perspective on where has that client been and what resources have they used, and how do we build a case plan with them as they approach our agency. So that's on the service provider end. And then as a system or a response, more of like on the continuum of care level, where we're not only evaluating our performance, but we're also planning for what services are needed. HMIS is used as a tool to identify and continue to monitor our progress towards the goal of functional zero. What did I miss, Carrie?
I would just add that it's all confidential, it's encrypted, and it requires permission from any of our clients that we would be entering into the database.
Thank you. And a link went into the chat box for where you can get a little bit more information about the HMIS here in Orange County. Okay, so moving on to question number 7. This is rapid fire. What resources can people share with their networks when they hear common myths about homelessness? And we all worked on a great campaign about 2 years ago for Hunger and Homelessness Awareness Week that might be a useful tool here. Elizabeth, I'll start with, oh no, Carrie. No, Elizabeth.
Okay. I'll start. Well, actually, I was going to give kudos to Becks and United Way and the Homelessness 101 that Elizabeth referenced, because it really does address a lot of those myths. I would also look at the UCI study on the costs of homelessness. That was really eye-opening for me, looking at that and how we can impact. But I'll stop there and let Elizabeth take over.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, just really engaging with the resources that United 10 Homelessness has provided out. It's whether you are aligned that it's a myth or not, having a place that's recognized and valued as an agent of change here with credible information is really important. Oftentimes, you can't really find it or identify that it is a credible source, but as you all are engaged here with United 10 Homelessness today, you know the validity that this effort has brought to Orange County and aligning all of us towards the direction of ending homelessness. So I would say the cost study is phenomenal, and then the continued engagement and forums that United 10 Homelessness has provided.
And you can always go to your local shelter and talk to them and ask specific questions, and they'll be able to help.
Perfect, thank you. There are links pouring into the chat box for the things that have been talked about. And one of the tools that we do have is we have a whole myth busting section on the United to End Homelessness website. And so on there, you'll find common myths that people have and misperceptions that people have about homelessness. Then there are experts responding to that. And so we've got videos of people responding, we've got articles, we've got blog posts. So there's a whole host of resources there to help empower you to have those conversations. And then of course, as you heard, we do a lot of different events where you're able to either direct people or come yourself to learn more and pose whatever questions you might have. Okay, we're going to move geographically to talk about the south of the county. So we have a question here. When will the south region of Orange County get a shelter? And I guess this is kind of a trick question because some people may not be aware that there are some shelters. So Elizabeth, I'm going to come to you to kick us off with this one.
Thanks, Becks. Yes, there are emergency shelters in South Orange County. Friendship Shelter operates a well-run shelter with successful outcomes out of the city of Laguna Beach. And they are, I like to call them kind of the pioneers of South Orange County in emergency shelter and demonstrating success with bridging people into housing. And the population that they serve is individuals. Family Assistance Ministries operates 2 properties in South Orange County. One of them is specific for children with family and children under the age of 5. And one is to support families, children of whatever age, and single and accompanied women. So they are specific, but there's a reason why we don't see a lot of homeless families in South Orange County. We do have a shelter that responds to them. We are always full, so the demand is still there. Do we need more? There are still people on the street. And so by that measure, I would say there is opportunity to incorporate some additional emergency shelter opportunities for people. We did through COVID, we launched a pilot in conjunction with this County of Orange, and where we use motel rooms to respond to the needs of people experiencing homelessness with the quick intervention, getting them off the street quickly in a motel and surrounding them with support services. That is the key, making sure that there is a full access of support services with them. So if the opportunity presented itself to scale a program like that, there would be some interest in order to try to move people out of off the streets and into a safe place. Again, it's not housing, so it's not ending homelessness for people, but it is providing them with safety and an opportunity to access those support services that can help move them into a permanent housing situation.
Thank you. I'm going to squeeze in one last question for us. So do we have any idea of what the impact of COVID-19 has been yet here in Orange County when it comes to homelessness? And Carrie, I'll come to you first.
The impact, we're still feeling the impact. We're still kind of in that response to COVID mode, and with the eviction moratorium coming down, we are still working at full capacity since we have from day one. The numbers have increased. The number of people needing help from food to housing to assistance, rental assistance and supportive services is growing. And there's so much more that we need to do and that we need to do together. So I'll have Elizabeth give her 2 cents on that too.
So on echoing what Carrie expressed at an agency level, I think that there is a desire from the continuum of care, our local leaders, to help determine tangibly with data how COVID has impacted us overall as a system. Have we seen more? How are we set up to respond to potentially the growing needs? I will put a quick plug in for the upcoming point in time count. The point in time count will help us understand our community who is experiencing homelessness, not only by number, by counting physically the people that are out on the street, but also by surveying and understanding what their needs are and who they are, helping us connect the data with the stories of the people that are experiencing homelessness and the why behind that. And so I'm sure that that link will pop into the chat around when there are volunteers that are needed. It is heavily reliant on volunteers in order to ensure that the point in time count is success, and we measure success by ensuring that we don't leave anybody out. We want to make sure that we count and account for everyone who's currently homeless on our streets.
Thank you so much for that. I was going to do a plug for the point in time count as well. So you've heard it from all of us. The point in time count is coming up in just a couple of weeks. There is definitely a need for volunteers. I will be volunteering. I will be out there helping make sure that everyone counts. The website is everyonecounts.oc.org, and that link is populated there in the chat box for you as well. But would really encourage you to come out, be a part of that count, because that data is invaluable for helping bring resources to our community and also for strategically planning how to address the needs in our community. And this count really is going to show us what the impact of COVID has been. So really would love for anybody who's tuned in to come and to be a part of the point in time count. And we're at 12:29. I'm really proud of us. We got through 9 questions. So that was awesome. And again, thank you to everybody who sent questions in. Thank you to everybody who voted in the poll. And that brings us to the end of our experimental format for our community chat. Thanks for bearing with me as I manage this new format. And thank you so much, Elizabeth and Carrie, for coming in today to answer the rapid fire questions. This chat is going to go live on Facebook and live on YouTube. So if you know somebody that you think should watch it, feel free to direct them there. And for those of us who are here on Zoom, there's going to be a quick exit survey pop up. We'd love your feedback on how to improve our chats. And we will be back next month with our next community chat. Thank you again, everyone.